नमो नमः। गीताभ्यासे 3-17 यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात्, 3-18 नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो, प्लस 3-19 तस्मादसक्तः सततम। A study by S.L. Abhyankar, Mumbai, Shaniwasare, January 2nd, 2021. It would be good to begin every session of Gita Abhyasa with recitation of Gita Dhyanam and the Namana Vakyam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Rutavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambattvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Yastvatmaratirev syadatmatruptascha manavah atmanyeva cha santushtastasya karyam na vidyate naiva tasya krutenartho na kruteneha kaschana na cha asya sarvabhuteshu kaschidharthavyapashrayah tasmadasaktas satatam karyam karma samachara asakto yacharan karma parama apnoti purushah. Padachhedahi. Yahatu आत्मरतिः एव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तः च मानवः आत्मनि एव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते न एव तस्य कृतेन अर्थः न अकृतेन इह कश्चन न च अस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थव्यपाश्रयः तस्मात् असक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तः हि आचरन् कर्म परम आपनोति पूरुषः. वाक्यांशः पदाभ्यासः. अन्वयार्थाश्च. तु च यः मानवः आत्मरतिः आत्मतृप्तः स्यात् एव च आत्मनि यः मानवः सन्तुष्टः स्यात् न तस्य कार्यं विद्यते इह नैव तस्य कृतेन कश्चन अर्थः विद्यते न तस्य अकृतेन कश्चन अर्थः विद्यते न च अस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थव्यपाश्रयः भवति सततं तस्मात् असक्तः कार्यं कर्म समाचर हि असक्तः कर्म आचरन् पूरुषः परम आपनोति. There is implicit क्रियावाचकः स्यात् in वाक्यांशः 1b and विद्यते in वाक्यांशः 2-3 and भवति in वाक्यांशः 4. In वाक्यांशः 3 the कर्तृपदीयः word अर्थः is repeated from वाक्यांशः 2. In 6a, आचरण is put as क्रियावाचकः because it is कृदन्तं and has its own कर्मपदम, object word कर्म. The कृदन्तं आचरण hence makes a गौण वाक्यांश, subclause 6a. The clause 6a is adjectival to Purushah, the Kartrupadiyah of 6b. The Kriyavachakah Apnoti in Vakyamshah 6b has its own Karmapadam, object word Param. Hence, Vakyamshah 6b is the main clause Pradhana Vakyamsha. The word Kaschana in 3 and Kaschit in 4, though with different suffixes, Chana and Chit, sound to be synonymous and with the indeclinable na have the meaning none. 1a. Yaha manavah tu atmaratihi eva atmatruптah च स्यात्. आत्मरतिः आत्मनि रतिः यस्य सः आत्मरतिः बहुव्रीहि. आत्मनि, आत्मन पुल्लिंगम सप्तमी एकवचन. Atman, in Aptera dictionary, as many as 18 shades of meanings are given. One has to choose which meaning is relevant in the context on hand. Atman, masculine. Atmanin, Unadi, 4-152. Said to be from an, to breathe also. Atma yatno dhrutir buddhi swabhavo brahmavarshmacha. Iti amara. The soul, the individual soul, the breath, the principle of life and sensation. Self, oneself, in this sense, mostly used reflexively for all three persons and in the singular number, masculine gender. Wherever be the gender, whatever be the gender or number of the noun to which it refers, sometimes used in plural also. Atmanah stuvanti. Supreme deity and soul of the universe, supreme soul, essence, nature, the natural temperament or disposition, the person or whole body considered as one and opposite to the separate members of it. Mind, intellect, the understanding of Atma Sampanna, Atmavat, thinking faculty, like that many meanings. Atman is used as the last member of compound in the sense of made or consisting of, see Atmaka, but that does not apply here. Ratihi, Ratihi, Ram Tin, pleasure, delight, satisfaction, joy. Akritarthepi manasije ratimubhaya prarthana kurute. Fondness for, devotion or attachment to, pleasure in, with locative. Pritih paratata ratischa jata. Pape ratimma kruthaha. So that is why Atmaratihi is, Vigraha is given as Atmani Ratihi Yasyasa. Ratihi is from Ram, which means to become indulgent. So Ratihi means indulgence. Atmaratihi means self-indulgent, indifferent, unconcerned of anything other than self. Atmatruptaha. Atmana truptaha va atmani truptaha. Trutiya va saptami tatpurusha. Syat. Vidhilinglakaraha parasmai padam prathama purushaha ekvachanam of as, asang, bhuvi, adadihi. Dvitiya ganiyaha parasmaipadi akarmakaha set, to be, to exist. Yaha manavaha atmani eva santushtaha cha syat. Atmani, detailed above, santushtaha. Sam plus tush or tush. Tasyakta visheshanam santushta. Atra pullingam prathama ekvachanam. Tush, tushang, preetau, divadihi, chaturthaganiyaha. Parasmaipadi akarmakaha. To be pleased, to be delighted, to be happy. Tush, tusham, tushtau. To be satisfied, to be happy. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Karyam krudhatoho nyat visheshanam karya. Atra napusakalingam prathama ekvachanam. Doable. What is doable? Krui karane Vadihi ubhayapadi sakarmakaha, to do, to make. Or dukrui karane tanadihi ashtamaganiyaha, to do, to act, to make. Vidyate, lat lakaraha, atmanepadam prathama purushaha ekvachanam of vidhan, sattayam, divadihi, chaturthaganiyaha, atmanepadi akarmakaha anit, to exist. With vidhan jnane adadihi, dvitiya ganiyaha parasmaipadi, to understand, to learn, to know, to realize. With vidang satyayam divadihi, chaturtha ganiyaha atmanepadi. With vidrung labhe, tudadihi, shashtam ganiyaha, to obtain, to receive. And also with vidang vicharane, rutadihi, सप्तम गणीयः आत्मनेपदी सकर्मकः है। एंड विद विदं चेतनाख्यान निवासेषु चुरादि दशम गणीयः टू नो टू अंडरस्टैंड। Considering various shades of meaning of vid, there can be various meanings of tasya karyam na vidyate. With vid equal to understand, tasya karyam na vidyate, his work is not worthy of taking note of. Or with vid equal to exist, tasya karyam na vidyate also means he has nothing to do. He needs not do anything. With karyam doable, worth doing, tasya karyam na vidyate, his doing may not be what is worth doing. इह तस्य कृतेन कश्चन अर्थः न विद्यते एव न अकृतेन। कृतेन कृधातोः क्तविशेषणं कृत। अत्र नपुंसकलिङ्गं तृतीया एकवचनं। कृत डन बाय, तस्य कृतेन डन बाय हिम। अर्थः many shades of meanings are detailed in Apt's dictionary. This very verse is quoted for the meaning use, want, need, concern with instrumental. So krutena instrumental. Tritiya vibhakti. न एव तस्य अकृतेन कश्चन अर्थः विद्यते। न च अस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थव्यपाश्रयः विद्यते। सर्वभूतेषु, सर्वभूतानि इति प्रथमा बहुवचनं। सर्वभूतेषु सप्तमी बहुवचनं। सर्वाणि भूतानि इति सर्वभूतानि कर्मधारयः। अर्थव्यपाश्रयः, अर्थव्यपाश्रयः इति अर्थव्यपाश्रयः सप्तमी तत्पुरुषः। इन Apt's डिक्शनरी व्यपाश्रयः सक्सेशन, टेकिंग रेफ्यूज विथ, हैविंग रिकोर्स टू, ट्रस्टिंग टू। तस्मात् सततम कार्यम कर्म असक्तः समाचर। असक्तः न सक्तः इति असक्तः न तत्पुरुषः। सक्तः सज् संज धातोः क्त विशेषणं सक्त। पुल्लिंगम प्रथमा एकवचनं। संज संजं संगे भ्वादिः। प्रथमगणीयः परस्मैपदी सकर्मकः अनिट्। टू हग, टू एम्ब्रेस, टू स्टे इन क्लोज कॉन्टैक्ट, टू क्लिंग, टू स्टिक टू। समाचर सम प्लस आ प्लस चर। चर लोट लकारः परस्मैपदं मध्यमपुरुषाय एकवचनं। ऑफ चर चरं गतौ भक्षणे च। भ्वादि टू गो, टू वॉक, टू ईट, टू ग्रेज। बट समाचार मीन्स टू बिहेव, टू एक्ट, टू कंडक्ट वन सेल्फ। विथ उपसर्गाः धात्वर्थः अन्यत्र नीयते। द मीनिंग चेंजेस सब्सटेंशियली। असक्तः हि कर्म आचरन्। आचरन् आ प्लस चर धातोः शत्रुविशेषणम् आचरत्। अत्र पुल्लिंगं प्रथमा एकवचनं। पूरुषः परम आपनोति। पूरुषः इक्वल टू पुरुषः। पुरुषः पुरि देहे शेते शीड पुरुषो। पुर अग्रगमने कुशन, अ मेल बीइंग मैन। अर्थतः पुरुषो नारी या नारी सरसार्थतः पुमान्, men, mankind. So very comprehensive meaning. The soul, Dvavima Purusho Loke, the supreme being, God. Again many different meaning. Param, the highest point or pitch, the culminating point. The final beatitude, Param. Apnoti, lat lakarah, parasmai padam, प्रथम पुरुषः एकवचनम ऑफ आप, आपृंग, व्याप्तौ, स्वादिः पंचमगणीयः। टू ऑब्टेन, टू परवेड, टू ऑक्युपाई, टू रीच, टू गेट। I would like to discuss the overall meaning in स्वाध्याय, self study. छंदो विश्लेषण। यस्त्वात्मरितिरेव स्या, अष्टाक्षराणि। तिरेव स्या, एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे द्वे। दात्मतृप्तश्च मानवः, अष्टाक्षराणि। श्चमान, एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे एका। आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः, अष्टाक्षराणि। च सन्तुष्ट, एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे द्वे। स्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते। अष्ट अक्षराणि न विद्य एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे एका। अनुष्टुप् छन्दः इन 3-17। नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो अष्ट अक्षराणि कृतेन कृतेना एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे द्वे। ना कृतेनेह कश्चन अष्ट अक्षराणि ह कश्च एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे एका। न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु अष्ट अक्षराणि रवभूते एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे द्वे। कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः अष्ट अक्षराणि व्यपाश्र एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे एका। अनुष्टुप् छन्दः इन 3-18। तस्मादसक्तः सततम् अष्ट अक्षराणि क्तः सत् एतेषां मात्राः द्वे एका एका। कार्यं कर्म समाचर अष्ट अक्षराणि समाच एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे एका। असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म अष्ट अक्षराणि चरन् कर्म एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे द्वे। परमाप्नोति पूरुषः अष्ट अक्षराणि तिपूरु एतेषां मात्राः एका द्वे एका। प्रथमे पादे अपवादः अन्यथा अनुष्टुप् छन्दः। स्वाध्यायः नोट्स ऑफ सेल्फ स्टडी। द फ्रेज आत्मन्येव च संतुष्टः seems to be a repetition of आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः in 2-55. But there it is related to sitaprajñah sadochyate. Here it is related to tasya karyam na vidyate. That raises a question whether the one atmanyevacha santushtaha or atmanyevatmana tushtaha who has nothing to do karyam na vidyate is to be called a sitaprajñah. The advocacy here is karyam karma samachara. Obviously, the one who has nothing to do, karyam na vidyate, would not be doing anything, not even karyam karma. Sitaprajñah is not supposed to be such person. Obviously, although the phrases atmanyevacha santushtaha and atmanyevatmana tushtaha sound to be synonymous, they refer to different personalities. One sitaprajñah and another yasya karyam na vidyate. Atmanyevacha santushtaha refers to one who is engrossed with oneself, atmaratihi, satisfied by oneself, atmatruptaha. In Shankara Bhashyam, the word atmaratihi is detailed as atmajnana nishtaha, and atmatruptaha is detailed as atmana eva truptaha na annarasadina. In Sri Bhashyam by Ramanujacharya, tasya karyam na vidyate is detailed as atmadarsanaya kartavyam na vidyate. These sound to be philosophical perspectives, but there can be interpretations by sociological perspectives also. After all, man is a social animal. The phrases atmaratihi, atmatruptaha, atmanevacha santushtaha refer to a selfish, self-centered person who is not socially conscious. Accordingly, the further phrases neva tasya krutena kaschana arthaha vidyate na akrutena and na chasya sarvabhuteshu kaschyadarthavapashraya have a tone of disapproval of all socially indifferent behavior. In Gita Rahasya also, Lokmanya Tilak discusses these three stanzas together and comments, as commentators have very much distorted the meaning of these stanzas, three stanzas, 17 to 19. And when he mentions commentators earlier to him, prominently, again, Adi Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, etc. So he says, I will first explain their plain meaning, there of these stanzas. These three stanzas form, really speaking, only one sentence, in the shape of a reason and an inference. Out of these, the 17th and 18th stanzas first show the reasons generally given for the jnani not performing action, and the inference drawn is stated in the 19th stanza, which starts with the word tasmat, that is, therefore, which shows the inference. It has been clearly stated in the 4th and 5th stanzas in the beginning of this chapter that the actions of sleeping, sitting, getting up, nay, of existing itself, etc., cannot be given up in this world, even if one wants to do so. And that, therefore, Naishkarmya is not achieved by giving up action, nor in such renunciation of action. Nor is such renunciation of action any means for attaining perfection, siddhi. But the argument advanced against this point of view by the school of renunciation is, it is not that we give up action in order to obtain perfection. Whatever anybody does in this world, he does it either for his own gain or for the gain of another. But the highest ideal of every man, namely the siddhavastha, state of perfection, or moksha, release, is attained by a jnani as a result of knowledge. And therefore, as there does not remain any more anything else which he has to acquire, stanza 17, it is all the same to him whether he performs a particular action or does not perform it. Very well. If it is said that he must perform such action for the benefit of other people, then he has nothing to do with other people. Stanza 18. Then why should he perform in the same words as the Gita? And it is stated in the second line that why should I insist on not performing action? I am performing whatever befalls me according to the Shastras. Also, a little higher up, the Yoga Vasishtha has borrowed verbatim from the Gita the stanza Naiva tasya krutena artho, etc. And in the next stanza it says Yad yatha nama sampannam tat tathastu itarena kim. That is, therefore, the Jivana Mukta performs whatever befalls him and does not pay attention to anything else. Not only in Yoga Vasishtha, but also in Ganesh Gita, where the same meaning is to be conveyed, the stanza is Kinchidasyana sadhyam syat sarvajantushu sarvada ato saktataya bhupa kartavyam karmajantubhihi. Ganesh Gita 2-18. That is, there is nothing left for him to earn from other living beings. For this reason, ataha, O Raja, Bhupa, everybody has to perform his duties with an unattached reason. From this it will be clear that the mutual relation between the three stanzas, as showing respectively the reason and the inference, as stated by me, is correct. As the Yoga Vasishtha gives in one stanza what is shown in 3 stanzas in the Gita, there remains no room for doubting the relation of reason and inference in that stanza. This line of reasoning of the Gita has been later on adopted by the Buddhist writers of the Mahayana sect. The Blessed Lord now gives an illustration for emphasizing the statement made above that there no more remains any self-interest for the person who has attained knowledge, that he must perform his duties with a desireless reason, and that desireless action of this kind ends in release instead of obstructing it. Looks like these 3 stanzas were at the center of anxiety of Lokmanya Tilak, that their interpretation by the commentators of the renunciation school had left the Indian society at large and for centuries into more of passiveness, unto the ransom looting indulged in by invaders, particularly the British. The Mughals also were foreigners, but they settled in India and made India their home. But they also damaged the fabric of Indian society by their penchant for converting people to Islam. The British were foreigners for whom India was a country to be looted. The Portuguese and the French also came in, more as traders, especially for the spices, but could also acquire colonies. The Portuguese in Goa, Diu, Daman, the French India, formerly the Establishments Français dans l'Inde, was a French colony comprising 5 geographically separate enclaves on the Indian subcontinent that had initially been factories of the French East India Company. This is from Wikipedia. Surprisingly, even when the British transferred power to India on 15th August 1947, the French transferred power only in 1954. And there had to be military action against the Portuguese in 1960. All these Europeans also indulged in damaging the fabric of Indian society by their penchant for converting people to Christianity. Whereas conversion to Islam also included mercenary extremities, conversion to Christianity was by missionary methods. It cannot be said that the missionary methods were not oppressive. The fact also is that the activities of religious conversions are continuing even today. Basically, I have an objection to the word religion and the course of blindfold observances and rituals that go with it. The word religion is a very, very poor translation of dharma. Gita does not advocate one dharma or the other. Rather, it goes to the extent of advocating sarvadharman parityajya. See 18-66. By my understanding, dharma means righteousness, righteous conduct. That is always adopting a conduct which is right in a given context. Arjuna was confused. What is the right conduct for him? Especially when the situation was of fighting against Bhishma Pitamaha and Dronacharya. Actually, Arjuna was seeing all Swajanaha in both the arrays. He did not see any enemy. One fights against an enemy, right? Whom does one fight against if one sees no enemy? That was really Arjuna's delusion. Not just illusion, but delusion. Arjuna had become confused about what his karyam karma is. The advocacy here is karyam karma samachara. The commentators of renunciation school focused on tasya karyam na vidyate. Isn't that focus wrong? As Lokman Tilak rightly observes, there is a continuation of thought even in the next stanza 3-19, where there is mention of Loka Sangraha, which certainly is a sociological thought rather than philosophical, much less of philosophy of renunciation. That ordains that these 3 stanzas should also be interpreted from the sociological perspective. On this count, I am all for Lokmanya Tilak's line of thinking. And his line of thinking, his interpretation is also universally valid, eternally valid. Why should only say any society be docile and passive to oppressions and looting? It will be noted that the shloka Tasmat Asakta Satatam Karyam Karma Samachara is the iconic shloka of Gita Rahasya. The interpretation of the school of renunciation was unacceptable to him. Looks like that was the prompt for him to undertake writing Gita Rahasya. I am all for Lokmanya Tilak's line of thinking. Also because the second mantra in Ishavasya Upanishad also states that living happens only by being active, by doing karmani. Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishe chatam samaha evam tvai nanyathe tosti na karma lipyate nare. Ishavasya Upanishad. One wishing to live 100 years, iha shatam samaha jijivishet. One can live only karmani kurvanneva, doing karmani only. Evan tvai, it is like that only. Itaha anyatha na asti. There is nothing else. Na karma lipyate nare. As such, karma is not a layer on you. It is no extra load to be carried. Karma does not make you a beast of burden. The phrases karmani kurvanneva, doing karmani only, and shatam samaha are sort of included in the word satatam, always, continuously, forever, non-stop. Passivity for any pretext should be unacceptable. The British started the concept of weekly off on Sunday. If there is a well conceptualized and well set daily routine, why should there be a weekly off? One may even rethink what entertainment, manoranjanam, is. One needs a separate activity as entertainment if and only if one does not enjoy what karyam karma one should be doing. There is significance in the prefix sam in the word samachara. Note, sam means samyak, properly. Sam also means sarvashaha, wholeheartedly. If karyam karma is done samyak, properly, and sarvashaha, wholeheartedly, one should be also enjoying it. If so, there should be no need for any different entertainment. In Adventures of Tom Sawyer, the moral of the episode of whitewashing the fence is, work is what one is obliged to do. Play is what one is not obliged to do. Take the advocacy, karyam karma samachara, with the mental makeup that the karyam karma is not work but play. The essence of the advocacy, karyam karma samachara, is also qualified by the binding condition to be devoid of ego, to be selfless, to be unattached, to be asaktaha. That condition is both sociological and philosophical. Always be sociologically and philosophically mindful. And then paramapnoti purusha. You are on the path of param shreyaha. Shubhamastu.